Ciao. Take a moment to touch your heart and touch your belly. The area just below the navel. The space where your womb, or if you're a male, where your energetic womb would be. And just create some circles with the hand on your womb space. Whatever direction feels good for you, I like to go in the direction of my digestion, my digestive tract. But if you have like more toward diarrhea, then you can go in the opposite direction and it'll actually help with your diarrhea. The other direction will help with normal functions of the digestive system. I think I hear monkeys. Oh, it's some other type of animal running down the mountain. I missed it. Anyway, so I'll show you what I'm talking about in case you are like, what the hell is she talking about? One hand here, one hand here. Take a moment to tune into your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Just bringing awareness to each inhale and bringing awareness to each exhale. It's actually 3 years ago when I first learned or heard this. I was here in Costa Rica. I was at Envision Festival. And I actually just recently re-met the woman who taught me this in a random dance setting. She came up to me and she was like, I remember you. And she remembered me from 3 years ago. How amazing is that? But anyways, I'll tag her below so you can follow her beautiful movements and what she does. But she taught me this for the first time. She had us join together woman to woman, but anyone can do it. We all have an energetic womb, a space of creation to give birth to ideas, inspirations, humans, whatever it may be. This is your space of creation, your energetic womb space, and your womb space if you're a woman. And so she had us place our hands on each other's womb, one hand on mine, one hand on hers, and then vice versa. And we all said, the womb is not a space for guilt and shame. My womb is a space for creation, to give birth to life. So you can do this on your own or with a partner. Either way, it's very powerful. My womb is not a space for shame or guilt. My womb is a space of creation to give birth to life. My whole life I held so much shame in this area of my body. so much shame around having this. This beautiful, beautiful abundance here. I held so much guilt towards my sexuality. I held so much guilt for expressing myself sensually. Everything that I consumed food-wise, I would be guilty about. All my movements would be towards trying to look better, trying to lose more weight, trying to be a different version of myself that would fit into the mold of what I thought was beautiful, that I thought was enough, that I thought was something that someone could love. And then I explored my sexuality in a way to gain those things that I was missing within myself. So I would have sex to feel loved, to feel more beautiful, to feel fit, to accept my body more. But that really, absolutely never worked. I never felt any of those things after having sex for that reason. Part of the reason why I consumed so much alcohol and the Adderall as well was to try to also fit that mold, some type of mold I was trying to fit, to be more of something that I thought I wasn't, or that I thought I needed to be. And then one day, I realized that all these attempts to be or do something so that I could love and accept myself more fully was not working at all. And all I felt was empty and confused and alone. And I still feel those things sometimes. But I'm not trying to escape them anymore. I'm embracing these feelings. Now when I feel alone, I know that I'm not honoring myself in some way. Because I'm never alone, because I have myself. And so if I feel alone, it's usually a result of me not honoring myself in some way. So now when I feel alone, I ask myself, what are you not expressing? What are you not being honest about? And then embracing the feeling of emptiness. How beautiful it is to be empty. This is actually the state in which we can fully immerse with God, that we can fully immerse with our true self, is in this state of emptiness. So rather than running and hiding from this emptiness, I can sit with it now. I can sit in this state of emptiness and appreciate the vastness of this space within me and outside of me. It is infinite. It is expanding and connecting all of us to Source. And then the confusion. When the confusion arrives, I find I'm usually too much in my head and not enough in my body. And so it's like a little indicator for me to get still with myself, to quiet my mind, to come back to that peaceful, silent space. So it's not that we get rid of all of these things that are bothering us when we start to do the work, but we start to work through these things in a more mindful way. Rather than trying to escape them, we're using them as tools. We're friending them. They're our friends now. We don't have to run and hide anymore. So I just went off on a random tangent. I don't know where that came from. But back to this womb space. I had a sister, this beautiful, beautiful sister, recently asked me anything about sacral healing. The sacral chakra is our chakra. For me, it's about sensuality and sexuality and really embracing our physical self as well as our like primal, sexual, sensual, intuitive self. And so I've been meditating on that question. Yeah, so I started doing this work without really, it was all intuitive. I had no like explanation for the work that I was doing. But now I see what potent medicine I was intuitively doing for myself. And I really thank my younger self for being vulnerable. I think it had a lot to do with being vulnerable because, like I said, I held a lot of guilt and shame in this area. I held a lot of guilt and shame for my body. And so one day I just decided that I was going to stop viewing myself in the way that I was viewing myself. I just decided that I was going to stop. No more. And of course, it doesn't just happen like that, but I started taking action. And so every moment, I kind of stopped paying so much attention to the mirror. I stopped putting all my attention there. And I started moving and dancing and doing things for my body that felt good, rather than every time I worked out, striving to look better or be more. And so this shifted my whole relationship with movement and my body as I began to dance and feel everything that I was moving through. I really touched my body, gave thanks to my body, and in this process, as I touched my heart and touched my belly, things would bubble up and come out, and I was able to release so much emotion, so much fear and grief that I had stored within me, so much guilt and shame. I was able to release it through this vulnerability of movement. And I shared my first movements on Instagram, and you can go back like 4 or 5 years ago and see like the first videos that I ever started moving on camera and sharing them on Instagram. This was like such a vulnerable act for me, and it created so much space for me to love myself more freely by utilizing this tool in a sacred way. And so by being vulnerable, by really touching my belly more, by touching my heart more, and just giving myself the love that I've been searching for. Been searching all over outside of myself for this love that I have within me already. And the more I practiced this, the more I began to believe that I deserved it, that I deserved this love. And the more I began to believe that I deserved this love, the more I began to receive the love that I was giving myself. And the more I began to receive the love that I was giving myself, the more I was able to give love out. And then rather than, searching for love in these other areas, I didn't have to search anymore. So these are a few ways that I've personally worked on my sacral chakra. Definitely had a lot to do with vulnerability. I keep saying it. But whatever way makes you feel vulnerable, it doesn't have to be sharing on Instagram, but it could be expressing with a partner. It could be talking out loud about what you feel guilty or shameful about. It could be, moving your bodies moving your body in a way that you usually feel guilty about, and just reminding yourself that there's no shame, there's no guilt here. I am free, I am free, I am free, and allow yourself to move in the ways that feel good for you. I release judgment, I release shame, I release fear. And something that I constantly remind myself is that there's animals all over the place. Something I constantly remind myself is that as I do this work, as I am shifting within and healing these traumas within myself, I'm also creating and shifting and creating positive change for all the generations before me and all the generations after me. We are so connected, like a beautiful web. And so as you do this work, you are doing it for your grandmother and your sisters and your brothers and your mothers and so on and so on and so on and so on. This area within us has been oppressed for so long, our sexuality and our sensuality. And we have been taught to feel this guilt and shame. And then we're born into this life, and again, we are taught through the media and maybe through our families to feel guilt and shame. And then we're also taught to feel guilt and shame if we don't look or act a certain way. And so there's just all of this pressure. And this is actually the space that we hold power. This is the space that we create from. And so it's time that we release all these past conditionings that are held here, and we step into our power. And that's one of the biggest things that keep me going, that keep me moving in the direction of love, is knowing that the work that I'm doing now within myself is going to trickle out into my siblings. It's going to trickle out into my children and my children's children. And it's also going to heal all the generations after me. And so this is really important work that we're doing. So keep going, you're doing great. You are so loved, you're so supported, you're so strong. Thank you for all the work that you're doing, whatever it is.